Hey guys, I did a short video, I think I posted it yesterday, about Sig. They have been having some problems lately, and these problems aren't brand new. They've been having problems for a while. So I want to talk about those, but let me give you some perspective first. I've probably had fairly direct and indirect experience with the Sig P320 since it started getting adopted by some major agencies. I think I really started to see a lot of rounds downrange with that gun starting somewhere around 2016. Since then, from 2016 till today, I've probably seen somewhere around 200 students with various configurations of Sig P320s, and I've probably watched somewhere close to 450 to 500,000 rounds go downrange out of those guns. I have not seen any problems on the range, not the shooting, not reloading, in and out of the holster, like all the things that you see a gun do on the range. I've not seen one issue, and that's a fairly substantive amount of information or data, in my opinion. So I'm going to tell you up front that if you have a Sig P320, probably don't worry, don't freak out, but I do want to talk about some of the issues they've been having recently. Now, if we back up, if you remember, they had issues where they weren't 100% drop safe. Sig issued a voluntary recall in 2017. That voluntary recall basically fixed the internals to, in theory, remove that problem. Secondly, a really good friend of mine is a gunsmith, not a gun plumber, a gunsmith. This is a guy with substantive experience creating parts, making guns, working on guns. Like, he's a guy who, he's not a Dremel guy, he's like a mill and a lathe and a drill press kind of guy, like that kind of dude, like a machinist. And he said in his examination of the internals of the Sig P320, of which he is very familiar, he doesn't see how they go bang without pressing the trigger. His words, he said, I don't see it. He said, I think they are very safe guns. So another data point that I think is pretty strong. But recently, if you look at Milwaukee PD from about 2019, 2020 till today, 3 uncommanded discharges of guns, 2 of which resulted in injury. Now, anytime you say, hey, a cop had a uncommanded discharge, I'm going to take that with a grain of salt. I get it, because look, some cops are gun people. Some cops really aren't gun people, and the gun is a condition of the job, not I like guns and I want a gun. So if you give enough people enough guns, there's going to be bangs and holes. Like, it's negligent discharges happen. So if there was one incident where you said, hey, this Sig went off with a cop, I'd probably like, did it really, or was it something else? I might be like that. But if we start stacking them up over and over and over again, at this point, the Milwaukee Sentinel, the article that I reference, it said there were at least 22 lawsuits that Sig had been a party to, some of which they had won in a jury trial, some of which they had to pay out. I know that a local law enforcement individual in my area ended up suing Sig, and I'm not privy to all of the inner machinations of that trial or what happened to that individual, but it happened close to home. I wasn't around for any of that event, so I can't speak to specifics. It would be hearsay for me to do otherwise, but the facts are that an individual got injured with a Sig in the local area, and I believe sued them, and I think they paid a settlement, some sort of payout. That's all I know in that. Like I said, anything else would be hearsay. Won't go into it. You can Google that yourself. So, but at least 22 lawsuits Sig's got going on. The most recent one, Milwaukee PD. Some other agencies have had other issues, and you can Google those. Milwaukee's not the only one. Very, very recently, YouTuber Gungus had his gun go off in the holster. It was a Sig P320, I think one of the X series, one of the competition series guns, went off in the holster. He had already taken his hands off and he was going to surrender. I'll link to the video in the description down below.
The gun, and between reholstering the gun and going to my start position of high ready, the firearm went off and shot around right near my leg into the ground.
So plenty of witnesses, and were it not for the Benchmade knife sitting in his pocket that deflected the bullet, he probably would have had some level of injury. As it was, he was bruised. So, like I said, watch that video. He'll talk all about it. And he didn't attempt to sue Sig. He simply, I think, got a different gun from them, and he was okay with that. God love him. more recently, and not tangential to the P320, another YouTuber, once again I'll link to him, his P365 had the opposite problem where he would pull the trigger and it wouldn't go bang, and if he shook the gun, then it would go bang, which
okay, so it's not going off. I'm gonna release. I'm gonna pull again. And, I mean, as you can see, I'm pulling the trigger. It's not going off. I'm gonna shake again.
Go bang, which I also consider to be a pretty big problem, because there's, you know, 2 times that you want the gun to behave. When you don't press the trigger, you don't want to go bang. Then when you press the trigger, you want it to go bang. I need the gun to do those 2 things. And if it can't behave in that manner, then it's not really suitable for any use I would want to put it to, and it's pretty darn unsafe. Now, with all that said, hey, if you've got a Sig P320, I'm not going to tell you what to do. The odds are pretty darn good that you're not going to have any issues. They're super good. I mean, if you look at the vast number of Sig P320s out there, how many of them behave 100% all the time, no issues? There's probably no cause for concern. So I'm not telling you to panic. Don't flip out. Don't start selling your collection. But I will tell you, if I owned a Sig P320, if I owned one, and I don't, because I'm super Glock centric. Not because Glocks are perfect. I understand that, guys. They're just what I'm used to, and I've got tons of magazines, holsters, blah blah blah. So I'm kind of stuck in the Glock world. I could move, but at this point, there's not a lot of incentive to do so, just because of the inertia that I've generated with Glocks. But if you've got a Sig, let's say you've got a Sig, don't worry about it. If I had a Sig right now, me personally, not telling you what to do, but if me personally, I had a Sig P320, I would not carry that gun appendix. I would not do it. Not in a million years. Not right now. And like I said, you could probably do it 10 out of 10, no problems. Like literally a couple thousand of you, maybe even 100,000 of you could carry an appendix, no problems. But there's that little teeny doubt running around the back of my head. So I wouldn't carry it inside the waistband. Even appendix aside, probably wouldn't carry it inside the waistband. If you are issued a P320, i.e. work says you're going to carry this gun, Merry Christmas, this is your gun, then I would carry it in a duty holster outside the waistband. When I was done carrying that gun, like when I came home, I would take that belt off and I would set it nice and gently on the ground with the muzzle pointed toward the deck, and hopefully a direction where nothing underneath that floor would be injurious or too much property damaging. Once again, is it going to go off? Probably not. Like 99.99999% chance it doesn't go off. But I'm still not going to take any chances. I'm just not. I've seen enough gotchas with that gun, and I don't know if it's at this point a function of the design or of the quality control that Sig is currently engaged in. I know they're making guns as fast as they can. Everybody is, right? Like if any gun manufacturer out there, Sig, Smith, Walther, HK, Glock, Staccato, there's others. If any of those guys can make a gun, they can sell a gun. And they're still ripping off the shelves. So that may very well be an issue. I did go through a Sig P320 Armorer class. I will tell you that the inside of the slide on a Sig is quite a bit more fiddly than a Glock. Glock has like 2 springs, I think, inside the slide. 3 if you count the extractor. And the Sig has either 4 or 5, if memory serves. And some of them are little teeny springs that look to me like they can very easily get bound up. I don't know that that's a contributing factor. I have no idea. But here's the thing, guys. If you want to carry appendix, there's probably about 5 guns that I would trust in that regard. And probably more, but obviously definitely Glock. I'd do a Smith M&P, no problem. I'd do a Walther. I'd do a HK. Heck, I'd carry a Staccato appendix. There's others. Tell me in the comments the ones that I missed. But right now, I'm not carrying a Sig appendix. I'm just not doing it. Guys, I'm telling you, like, I know Glocks are not perfect. I know this is not a perfect gun, right? It is blocky. The ergonomics are not great. No matter how much they play with the back straps and stuff, this is never going to be an HK VP9 in terms of ergos. It's not the most accurate gun out there. If you've seen my other videos about accuracy, they're okay, right? Like I can get like a 3 or 4 inch group at 25 if I'm very finicky about the ammunition that I put in the gun. Anything else, I start to get much bigger groups. Most of us are not shooting 25-yard bullseye with these guns anyways, I get it. But that's another slight on Glock. Are they a little loose? Are they a little rattly? Are they a little jiggly? They're not perfect. But for what I want it to do, I'm pretty happy with this gun, and I will carry this Appendix 10 out of 10 because I know it's not going to go bang unless I press a trigger. I have a lot of faith in that. I have been working on the internals of Glocks for a couple of decades now, and I can't say the same about the P320, right? It does not have that same level of longevity. Maybe at some point all of their issues get sorted, or maybe this is all just a ghost in the machine. Guys, I don't know. I can't comment on that, but I keep seeing issues with SIGs. And like I said, occasionally with 365s. It seems to be much less with the 365. That may be owing to the fact that there's a lot less 365s out there compared to the 320, because the 320 is getting agency, government, all military, like all sorts of stuff. And the 365 is a smaller carry gun. In general, guys, by the way, I like the 365. I think that overall it may be a better gun than the Glock 43, 43X, or 48. That series, but once again, I'd put one of those Glocks inside my pants. I don't know that I would do the same thing with that Sig now. I'm getting a little gun shy. Forgive the play on words. Guys, no matter what you do, make the best decisions you can with the information you have. Take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Get 'em, Jay.